Welcome to Elements of Community, a podcast about discovering and exploring the elements of community. I am Lucas Root, and each week we talk with a community leader about what makes their community thrive and bring value to both the leaders and the members. Join me as we unpack the magic of the elements of community. Live. Akasha, I am absolutely delighted that you were able to join me. Just as a quick reminder, I put out a call or request for exactly you in episode 29 for all of those who are listening. I said, I want amazing grandmothers who have built amazing communities. And you showed up in my life immediately thereafter. And thank you. Thank you for coming and joining me. Would you like to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you, Lucas. Thank you for inviting me to this program. And about myself, I live in Sweden, so it's nighttime here and storm outside. And I'm grandmother of 10 grandchildren and 3 ex-husbands I have and 3 children I have. I think I got that mixed up now. I meant 3 children and 3 ex-husbands. And yeah, very interested in community.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Can you tell us a little bit about the community that we're talking about today? By the way, just to seed this, I love this community because you and I, of course, have had this conversation already. So I'm excited to talk about this.
Yeah, by community, I have 2 different ideas of community. So the one is where I live in a village and have a lot of contact with the other people in the village. And that's not so common in Sweden, maybe nowhere else either. Anymore. But many people moved here that were looking for better things. And so we just have contact with each other and do things together, those in the community that will. And so it's probably just like a community was before we stopped getting to know our neighbors and everything. But we do have a bit of a common purpose, an environmental interest and an interest in nature and an interest in culture. And so there's all kinds of lovely things that have come in the village. They took over the train station, some people, and another organization, an environmental organization, was able to support them monetarily for buying it and fixing up this train station. So now it's like a cultural center.
I remember from our conversation that you also have deep connection inside that community, the community of your village. You guys do, you do events together. I think you were talking to me about a dancing event.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just have Dance or Die every week without exception. And it's open, you just walk in the door and it's kind of like ecstatic dance where you don't talk about stuff, you just dance and get into your kind of an inward journey. And that makes it easy, the fact that it's just come on in and it doesn't cost anything and, it's always happening every Monday. That makes it able to happen.
Yeah, I would call that a common project, a project of the community where we get together and we do something together in order to deepen our community connection and further our purpose. And if that's true, and it may not be, and of course you are a power, we had a great conversation. You have a strong will and you'll tell me if I'm an idiot. If that's true, then one of the purposes of the village community is connecting deeper, both with yourself, which is really valuable and valid, and also with the other people there, connecting deeply.
Yeah, I would go with that, definitely. It's definitely a time to exploration and just love, giving yourself love, doing exactly what you want to do in that dancing time. But also we do come together and we exchange a few words and we, make sure it happens every week. And things like that. So it's a sweet activity. Then
Hmm.
there's a center 5 minutes away by feet where there's also meditations, yoga, music, courses, all kinds of different things. And that brings together other people in the community and, of course, people from far away also. But the Thursday night meditation is, and singing bowls, that's only local people generally.
Singing bowls kind of lose some of their value, like their power, if they're done over Zoom. I mean, it still helps. Different, right? It's not the same.
Yeah, no, we don't do Zoom in the community, but people come from farther away. That's what I meant. I mean,
Mhm.
there's the village where you can pretty much everybody can walk to, a few couple kilometers, 3-4 kilometers to each other. It's not more than 3 kilometers really, but yeah, people drive here from the big city called Gothenburg, which is an hour away.
Hmm. That's amazing that your community is so deeply connected that it's encouraging other people to come in and experience that.
Yeah, you could say that. It sort of sounds, maybe we don't want to. It's a course center, so they have people coming from all over, and that center could be located anywhere, but it is located in this community of people.
That's
So
what I'm
that,
seeing.
yeah,
It's not an accident.
it sure isn't. It attracted some people, including me, to move here.
And you and the community there are supporting it. You're supporting it partly monetarily, you're supporting it energetically, you're supporting it with the way that you hold together the village as a community, not just as a village.
Right, right. But I don't want it to make this sound too like flowery and stuff, because there's people who don't go to that place, don't support it, maybe don't even like some of the things that go on there. But
Hmm.
it doesn't really matter, does it?
Of course it matters. I think that a healthy discussion inside a community is a valid thing and a valuable thing. That we as a community get to sort of explore who we want to be and how we express who we want to be together. And maybe that's part of what you're describing there, is that you and the village there are having that healthy discussion and that healthy exploration.
Did I say we were having a healthy discussion?
You're choosing to interpret it that way.
Yeah, no, I'd say people that we don't really discuss things. You can also, in a fairly healthy way, avoid discussion.
Sure.
Yeah, and people can do their thing, like they do their thing and we do our thing, but we're neighbors. I mean, I've really been reflecting on how divide and conquer is a huge method of making people powerless.
Hmm.
So for me, a bottom line is whoever it is and whatever they do and think and who they vote for and pray for or pray with, it's okay. If they're vaccinated or not vaccinated, we're all, I would never let any of that get in the way of the relationships in my community with my
That's
neighbors.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Talk about that more.
Well, I don't know. It's just, I don't know what aspect of that you want me to talk about, because divide and conquer is I'm just realizing the extent of that as a method of making people weaker.
Hmm.
And we've seen it where, between races, between genders, but now there's more genders to get more upset about and to divide us more, and different countries, different religions, all that stuff has fomented separation.
That's such a good word, fomented.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
it's
And
true.
it's not, now my personal belief is that is intentional. There's something driving that, whatever it is, the media or education or something that is driving that's weakening us as humans. And
You know that's why we're here chatting, right?
Well, I don't know.
Not necessarily that that's your belief,
About
but
that.
like humans are better in community. And
Yeah,
me too, when I see the separation, regardless of what's driving it, when I see the separation, I see weakness. And when I see people coming back together, like what
right.
you're doing, I see strength.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Of course, that's what we're talking about. I forgot that for a moment. But Mickey Willis, if you know who he is, he's a filmmaker. He made the films Plandemic 1, 2, and now 3 coming out. He made a short film about so many times when there's been some kind of tyrants trying to take over and people fighting against that, some kind of a fight, and people have gotten together and made it, but they've never quite succeeded, is what he said, because of what? Okay, I'm not gonna expect you to guess. Infighting. So that's the word he used, but that's the same thing I'm talking about. We start bickering with each other, husbands and wives, families. I mean, every single unit. And so it's like, I mean, I have a big family. We're 16 people altogether, and that's downwards. That's not upwards with my family of origin. And different things happen, and totally different philosophies and agendas in that family. But it's just like, and I'm the grandmother, and it's just so, I just take that role so seriously of being a grandmother, being a good example, being kind to everybody, and being grateful, and just appreciating. I mean, I live with 2 14-year-old twin boys that are, getting on my nerves just today. I'm like, I don't want to see them today. Just, I might get angry, but because I want to it really work. It's work. It's not just simple to be the nice grandmother and make them pizza and things like that. It's like also clear about my values, and trying to share my values. And of course, in this time we have a war on the devices. So if the children had their
Mm-hmm.
way, they would eat candy and look at devices. Even 2 at a time works well. You have the phone in your hand and you got the TV on, and you have no need to talk to anybody,
Yep.
and and you get fed in front of the TV, things like that. So this is especially with boys. Some people in the audience might recognize this. So grandma has to be a bit strict, and that's not popular, but it's just what has to be done, and it
Mhm.
has to be done in a nice way. So yeah, so family, and not allowing ourselves to be divided.
I love that. And you're sort of personally using, inside your own family, you're using the authority as a grandmother to help people continue to come together, even with their disparate opinions, which
Yeah,
is natural, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And what I'm calling attention to here is the beauty of you using that positional authority to bring people back together again, right? And reconnect that family, reignite the community inside your own family.
yeah, I hope so. Best case.
Best
I'm
case.
doing what,
Yeah,
I can.
that's
Yeah.
beautiful. And you're doing the same thing in your village.
In the village, yeah, just I don't have to solve all the conflicts that come up in the village the same way I do with, not that I solve all the conflicts in my family either, but it's just
Nobody, I mean, let's
priority.
be honest, nobody can.
Yeah.
But,
It's a
you can keep
priority.
bringing them together.
Yeah. I just, I think of it as, what are your priorities? What are my priorities? And my priorities would always be the young people, these kids, and especially the kids that are here because of me.
Mm.
It's so I take this job of being a grandmother really seriously. I can't let my own kids, I mean, you can't control it all, but absolutely not. But you can still, like, be a good example and
I
be
love it.
consistent and loving and all that.
Yeah, I love it. That sort of leads us nicely into a question. How do you consider leadership inside a community, and what makes a great community leader?
Well, it's really funny because we have, I lived, before I lived where I live now, I lived in a community for 16 years. And
Mm.
it was people that came together, and we had a course center. That was our common purpose. And another, we were, you know, having people come and go to courses, meditation, yoga, weaving. This was back in between 74 and 90. And we had conflicts, and we were young, we were in our 20s. And what I learned, well, the main thing was we could live together, we could create something together, support ourselves, hopefully, garden and all that. But we had a lot of conflicts. And we had a big conflict that we finally split, and somebody left, and we paid him to move. And he was an important person in the community. And it was like a couple of years of fighting and,
Hmm.
dispute. But I'm sort of talking about two different things here, because the thing was, you asked me about leadership. In my vision of a community, if we take, for example, that kind of community where we lived in two big houses and a cottage,
Hmm.
and people came together, and there wasn't a leader.
Hmm.
And the idea was that we had a common structure and a common purpose, and that the idea ideally would be that people did different things, people took different responsibilities. Somebody was doing carpentry and getting other people to help, and somebody's doing the kitchen, and somebody's doing the garden. And it wasn't like it developed organically.
Yes,
And there
I
was,
agree.
yeah, there was no leader. And to me, when you talk about having a leader in a community, then I'm not sure what kind of community that is, because
Oh,
uh,
this is beautiful.
it's like, do you want it's some okay. I actually have an example. There's a person who keeps that I know that talks about wanting to start a community. Come to my community, and I always feel like he's doing it. He's on the wrong track.
You're
That
doing it
doesn't
wrong.
work that way.
Can I
Everybody, it grows organically.
can I give you some language for this?
Yeah.
Because I love this, and you're 100% on track with me. This is fantastic. Believe it or not, you are only the second of my guests that has been able to articulate this. And it's hard for you to see, but I'm actually over here like quivering with excitement because that was so beautiful. It was awesome. So I have started talking about leadership in a very different way from the way the rest of the world talks about it. And here's why. Most of the people in the world talk about leadership from a static perspective, and so I have, in my own term, named that static leadership. Now, static leadership is not normal human. In fact, it's not normal biological leadership. It's this thing that we've created that's weird. Static leadership. The way that humans want to be in leadership, the way that we want to interact with leadership, is from a community perspective, and I'm calling it, by comparison to static leadership, I'm calling it fluid leadership. And what I define as fluid leadership is the skill of seizing leadership when you are the right person to help the community take the next step, and ceding leadership, giving it up, releasing it back to the community when you are not the right person to help the community take the next step. And so
Okay. Yeah.
if
Good.
if that's, I mean, it's beautiful that you just said that, even without me seeding, SEEDING, without me seeding that idea, because I'm so delighted. Like, really, I'm quivering with excitement here.
How cute. Yeah, it's number one, the whole idea of leaders and one person. But at Findhorn, are you familiar with Findhorn?
I am, but
Yeah.
our audience probably is not. So can you?
Okay, so I like to call Findhorn the mother of all communities. And it started in beginning of the 60s in Scotland. and 3 people got together, and then other people started coming. They were, because two of the people were very intuitive, and one was receiving messages from God, and the other one was receiving messages from the devas, the angels, or the nature spirits.
Mhm.
And they started off, they were on sand dunes and with really terrible soil, and they had nothing. They were really poor. And then they started listening to their guidance, and they started a garden, and then that garden got to grow like Sahara big, cabbages and everything, and they got famous. They attracted all these people. How could they do this? And that became the community, all these people that were interested. Just for fun, I have this book that I just picked up again and started reading again. You read it every day, and this was the messages that the woman got from God. They're dead now. The 2 of the 3 are not with us
Now,
anymore.
for those who are listening, it was Eileen Caddy, Opening Doors Within.
Yeah. So that was a community. And what I was going to say about that in terms of leadership was that, of course, the people who did actually start it they probably created a rather structure that was pretty clear, but there were facilitators. That was the organization system. And I think that facilitator was a very good word, because you took care of this for a while, and there were, different sections, and you're just helping everything, coordinating, you could say, facilitating it. So that was a great model. And the thing was that in our community, when I lived in our community in Sweden, in this period, 74 to 90, we were actually creating the same thing. And I didn't know about Findhorn. And then somebody came and said, oh, this is like Findhorn. And then I'm like, oh, tell me about Findhorn. And then I went there a few times, and it was already, kind of my natural thing. It wasn't that I was copying them. So
I think that's a natural human state, actually, is we step forward to move the community forward. And when we're done with that piece of our journey, somebody else will step forward, and we encourage it.
Yeah. I mean, why would you want to be bossing people around? I'm just kidding. We don't boss. A facilitator doesn't boss people around either. But having that responsibility forever, it's
exhausting.
Yeah. And then there's all kinds of areas to, like I'm taking care of the dance area. Today I was thinking, one of my, I also put on a festival, and last year we had the theme of activating your superpowers. And today I was thinking, you know what I want to do is to activate, and I was thinking in terms of dance, and in terms of movement, and in terms of doing things with your bodies, running and chopping wood and all that, and being in the forest, and doing, actually activating your body to do good things.
Yeah.
So many of us are sitting in front of computers all the time, and we have a job where we're not really activating with our passion, So I was just activating yourself like that will activate your superpowers. That was the insight for today as I was dancing in my room.
Beautiful. Thank you. How will you help people activate their superpower?
Well, that's what Dance or Die is. My daughter doesn't like the name, but I think for me, I kept it, even though she doesn't like it, and I usually listen to her, because for me, at my age, I got to keep moving. I don't want to, sitting, getting stuck, so it's very serious.
I love it. So this is that title is actually a message to you from you.
Dance or Die.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also, I also heard a story from a very good friend had a near-death experience. And when he came back to life, he heard the message, dance or die. And I said, I'm taking it.
Oh,
and he's still dancing. Yeah.
And he still hasn't died.
Right.
I,
Right.
I think that's a good coincidence.
Yeah.
Let's say correlation is causation in this case,
Oh,
because reality is what we make of it, and I'm going to make that my reality.
okay. Good.
Dance or die.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
could talk I'm a belly dancer and all kinds of other dance things that I love, and I could talk about dance for other, but I could talk about dance for a long time.
You
Yeah.
could. How does dancing activate people's superpower?
Well, I feel like at my age now, it's kind of like I can't remember how I was before. It just feels like everything I'm when I at my age in my body, when I stretch, it hurts a little bit and it feels like it's getting stuck. And then when I move, and especially moving to music, one thing that it does is there's feelings in the music. I always use
Yeah.
music that's made by real people. It's not technologically electronic stuff. And so I have these feelings in my heart of the way the music or the words, it's world music. But then I feel like when I stretch out my body and express all these things that I'm feeling with my body, it's fun, but it's like allowing my body to become less dense and more porous. So the idea is that I let spirit in, and in the spaciousness that I create.
That's beautiful. I love it. I got a few different ways to connect with that in my own world, and let's see where that takes us. The first is people talk about emotion as energy being in motion.
Yeah, there you go.
And it is absolutely certain. I mean, this has been scientifically studied and shown. We store emotional triggers in our body, and the more that we can move our body, the more we can move those emotional triggers and either resolve them or release them however we need to. And or if we don't, they get stuck. Like it actually gets stuck in your body, and it starts to cause problems as it sits there and is stuck.
Exactly. Perfect. Yeah, that's what I can really feel. And yeah, so
well, there's more to it, right? So that's the basic. That's the get free part of it. But what you talked about was actually more than just getting free. What you talked about was a level beyond that.
Yeah, it's the creativity, and it's the expression, and I mean, the funny thing is, I have this that I'm not clear about, is that I have this experience of being a belly dancer and performing alone for, not in a group, but at parties and things. And then I have an audience that's like, so I'm performing for these people. And that's one experience. It's really fun. Not everybody gets that opportunity. And so, or not even me, even though I did dance quite recently at a party. But this is not about performing for anyone.
Sure.
But it's still about, you're not getting that juice and that connection to the people. So it's a different experience, but it's just really generating your own joy. So, like just the feeling of your body moving these different things. And like I said, when you have a little bit of pain and you move and it sort of, you can relate to that, can't you? It feels good,
Yeah.
Some places I think I should be able to move more, but a little stuck. But yeah, but I also mean the expression that the music inspires and all that. And I'm like doing my little show kind of. I'm trying not to. I'm working on, because sometimes I can imagine I'm doing a show, and that gives it a different quality than if I'm just feeling into my movement. And those are two different things, and they're both very valuable.
That's lovely. Little story. My wife and I used to do a couple of different things related to music together often. We used to dance together, and we particularly like the Latin dances, so merengue, salsa. We used to dance together a lot, and we haven't for a while. And I love, part of the reason why this whole podcasting thing works well for me is because I really love having that microphone in front of me. Not necessarily because I want people to hear what I say, but it's just fun. And so I used to do karaoke a lot. Like that used to be a regular part of what I do. So this past week, I've been in Sarasota, not an important part of the story, but just whatever. And we both, me and the people that I was with, we both went out dancing one night, and we went out and did karaoke another night. And both of these just sort of reignited the passion for the music within me. And in both cases, after we were done, I called my wife up after dancing, and I was like, we have to get back to dancing. Like we need to put this back in our life. I don't care if we do like 5 or 10 minutes a day after we're done working. Like, let's just turn the music on and dance. Let's do this. And after karaoke, I called her up and I was like, we have to get back to karaoke. Like now she doesn't sing, but she loves to show up and be there while I'm singing. So I'm so with you, Akasha, that being in the music, it doesn't just release the stuff that you're holding on to. It does do that. But being in the music opens you up to a flow that is greater than it releases, but it also opens you up to a flow that is greater than just releasing.
Oh, I think it's really fantastic that you manifested this talk about dance or die, because I promise you now, you will get your wife to dance, and she will get you to dance also, and do karaoke.
Yep, it's a partnership. Oh, she's here for it. Like this is not a hard ask.
No, great. That's great.
You just sort of let life pull us away, and this just reminded me that we need to not let life pull us away.
Yeah. I mean, what better thing than dance? You can just do it at home, It's nice. I always make a little atmosphere, if it's dark, it's candles and good music and just it changes. Everything changes, like maybe you're in your kitchen, but your kitchen in your living room, but still you've changed the atmosphere, maybe put on some aromatherapy or something and music, and that's all you need. And I also dress. I also put something other than my work clothes on, but you don't have to do that, but it's fun.
I think that's a great recommendation. People should do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. What a beautiful discussion. We've mentioned a couple of the elements of community. We've mentioned purpose. We've mentioned projects. Is there an element that you'd like to talk about that shows up in the way that you engage with the community you love and are a part of?
Well, I realized when I named the 5 elements that the one I forgot was purpose, and that's the one I want to talk about, because that's definitely an important part there. So because when you talk about community, then I have my community of my family, I have my community of the farm, and I have the community of the village. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I'd say the purpose of the community in the village is that we cooperate. Yeah. Whenever everybody can live their own lives, we don't have to meet each other at all. But if there's an area where we need to cooperate, like when I buy food, because I have my own little community here, the farm, so I buy large amounts of food. And so when I'm going to make an order, I send out an email to everybody in the community and say, would you like to order some food with me so we get it cheaper? And now
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's no big job. And then, I tell you, this is kind of cool.
But what you just mentioned was an actual measurable benefit of the cooperation of community. That the people who jump in and say, I want in on that, and then we get it cheaper. Yeah.
And we have people sharing cars here, and we do here in the farm, my family and other people here.
That's
and then
horrible. How dare you deprive big corporations of their little bit of extra profit?
Yeah. And we don't have TVs in every room. We have one TV for everybody.
What? What's wrong? No, we can't have this. Wonderful.
But let me tell you about this idea that I'm just developing, because I think it can be appropriate, because there's a lot of going on about food right now. Mm-hmm. And so we want to start, we want to start, some people want to start a community where, co-op, a co-op, that's like a store, right?
Yeah.
Where the food is the cheapest, best, organic, good food. Now I'm thinking of grains and beans and stuff like that, dry things. And then, of course, we have all our farm vegetables and stuff and eggs. But the thing was, if we forget about that and just think about things we will buy in large quantities, and then we're going to distribute them or sell them or whatever. We're going to make this thing work. So I had a friend in a neighboring community, and they had an association, and everybody paid into that association, and everybody worked. And then there was a big place where they went and got their food and wrote everything up. There was nobody there, but the food was in barrels, and they could weigh their own food and write up. And so everybody's worked, and everybody's bought the food they need at the cheapest possible price. But my idea was that it wouldn't be an association. It would just be a group of people that do the main work, like say 5 hours a day for 1 day a week, say like that, 1 day a week. And that we would go and sit in the store, and it would be like a cafe and a store, because there would always be a person there. So that when the people come to buy their food or pick up their food, there's going to be a connection between them, and that person sitting there, they can do other work, and they can talk to people, and they can just enjoy. And like, why wouldn't I want to go there and sit for 5 hours? That's not getting paid. But the thing that would make it work is that the prices on the food would be the price that we bought it for. This costs $1 a kilo or whatever, $10 a kilo, and then they would have to put on a percentage for everybody that's coming, but it would still be so low that it would be beneficial for them, and anybody could come. They didn't have to just be in the association. And then the people that are sitting there, they maybe get a 10% discount on the food. So that would be, they would do it mostly just for fun and to be there. It's not like a job, but you're getting a reduced price for your food. So I feel like that's the model that I'm suggesting to people. And I just told a few different people, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And of course, there's all kinds of legal things in Sweden. It's so complicated. And they're trying to take away cash in this country. We're kind of on the forefront of the digitalization of stuff. So, but I would love to do a cash-only store.
Mm-hmm.
The community, the village shop.
What a lovely idea.
There was a shop. There is a shop here now. It's been here for years. Nobody goes to it. It's a little health food shop that's, we should all go to, but it's not cheap enough. So people go and buy stuff cheap. And it's not a heart center. And so we're going to take the same place and transform it into a heart center. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Service first, value first, community first.
Yeah. What else is there, really? People talk about prepping. And right, there's a lot of prepping going on. And one of the most important aspects of, you want food, and you want toilet paper, and you want community. And you might put community first.
I would.
Yeah. And then you want to also have develop. It's not something that that's something that you build up, right? And
let's be honest, right? When you look at prepping, let's be honest, like let's say that one small family survives, then what?
Yeah, exactly. I got all my stuff. Yeah, I got my guns too.
Yeah. Now what?
What are you thinking?
What are you going to do? You survived. Cool. Now you're going to live 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, all by yourself, and then you're done too. If we can't survive together, we don't survive.
It's so bizarre. I'm glad you said that. That's what I always think. And it seems so obvious, I actually have a member of my family, farther away family, like I'm not going to say who it is, but a relationship that, they've got so much prepping stuff in their house that there's no space on the floor, and there's weapons. And I feel like we never lock our door. And I feel like we had a door locked on the farm, That's the only place that anything ever got stolen. They broke it off, and they didn't steal any of the stuff we had out, And now we have a store on the farm that you just come and you just take your stuff and you pay with what's
Honor
called
system.
with you. Yeah, and works fine,
Yep.
And if somebody wanted to steal a carrot or something, go ahead. We usually put stuff out also when we have too many zucchinis and stuff. We give them away.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. You know what? I'm more power to the people who feel like they need to prep, but seriously, if we can't survive together, we don't survive.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a world where I'm the only one.
No, not a bizarre idea. I'm going to shoot these people that want to eat, when instead you can just, I always think about it when I buy a whole lot of food, we're going to be people that the people would come to, and you just have the soup ready, and, and, what's the fight about?
Yep.
These are my potatoes. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the point? Do it together or don't do it at all.
Yeah. And if you have that conviction, like we were talking about before, that never divide and conquer. These aren't your enemies. You can offer them something. Yeah. I know there's bad guys in the world, but that you have to do the self-defense thing and all that, but I'm just not expecting them on my doorstep.
I've read it before, I've heard it before. It's common to say everybody's the hero in their own story, and if you take that idea and you put it into the idea of community, my suspicion is that there aren't really any bad people. Maybe a few people that are just so broken by commentary that they can't heal themselves, but really nobody wants to be bad.
That's true.
That's where I come from, and it sounds to me like you're there too. Nobody wants to be bad. Like we want to be good. We just have the wrong story going on in our head.
Exactly, for various reasons. Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that this episode with you is helping people tell a different story. That when you locked your door, that's where things got stolen. And when you stopped locking your door, things stopped getting stolen.
Yeah.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you. I like to wrap up my episodes with 3 really powerful questions. First one is, for the people who are just absolutely in love with you, and they should be, how can they find you?
Oh, I don't know. I think just by my name.
All right. Any website or social links or anything?
I have Facebook. Facebook is good enough. Yeah. That's maybe old-fashioned. I don't know if you have young people listening, because I know young people don't have. It's boomers. Did they talk about boomers where you are? Yeah, I'm a boomer.
We definitely do.
Yeah, I learned that from my grandchildren.
Yeah.
That lived on Bali. That moved here from Bali, and they're calling me a boomer. I'm like, where did you get that from?
Funny. The baby boomer generation in the U.S. came from the World War II return soldiers who then, came back and made big families, and you are the result of that.
Yeah.
That's what boomers are. Cool. Just look you up by your name. That's beautiful.
Yeah, my name is very unique.
Yeah, it sure is. Akasha Skaldeman. Second question. Is there something that you wish I had asked you so far, but did not?
No. Not that I can think of.
No magic question that unlocks the power of the universe?
That's too big of a
assignment. I love it. I get it. I love it. The third one is, you told me a little story, and I'm not sure if you'd be willing to tell it, but where does your name come from?
Oh, yeah. I'll just start with my last name, because my last name is the name of my second husband, and his brother made it up. And that's why I know we have a very unique name, because we're only this 10 people in Sweden have this name, and they're all my relatives through my second husband. I'm now on my third. And Akasha means Akasha. Yeah, that name came into my head. It was revelation, an intuitive revelation, which I don't have more than one of those. Haven't had yet in my life, or maybe two. And I just heard that name, and it was like, that's your name, Akasha. And so I didn't know, I wasn't quite sure what it meant. But I was aware of the Akashic records that I learned about when I studied Rudolf Steiner. And I thought it had to do with remembering. And I thought, well, that's a good thing. I need to remember things. This is about 15, 16, 17 years ago. And then I looked it up on the internet, and it said that it was the ether, or the fifth element, or the sky, or the field, or heaven. And I really liked that idea of the fifth element. Ether, the ether, I thought. Yeah, and so I went with it. My husband didn't stop calling me Pamela for probably 10 years. but everybody else did. So, yeah. So anyway, I'm getting more and more fascinated because of this concept of the ether, and that we do everything we create, we first dream up, think up, or construct, create. We create it from within. And the more creative we can be, the better. The more we can realize that it's through my intention and my dreams, my visions, that I create. Then I like to think of that as I'm creating in the ether, creating by choosing my thoughts and choosing to be loyal to my thinking in Swedish now, my beliefs, convictions. That was the word. Yeah, that there's more to life than we see. It's not, it's this hard stuff that you can knock on and stuff. There's something there.
This one's pretty hard for most people.
Yeah, right. There you go. But there is some, and it's good, so I'm, whether you call it God or whatever, it's good. It's life affirming. It's life force. And that I try to stay in contact with and imagine that. And I imagine the powerfulness of that. And I use that to create in the ether. So I imagine things up, and I'm just choosing to believe that more and more, that's a big part of my journey, is to realize that I can create in the ether. And then it's like, oh yeah, my name's Akasha. Yeah, that was interesting.
I love it.
Yeah.
Here's one of the things that I find particularly delighting about that story. It used to be, and it unfortunately is not quite so common anymore, but it used to be very common for people to change their name as they move through stages of their life. So you'd start out as a child and you would have a child name, and you'd move into adulthood and you'd have an adult name, and it would be different. And then you maybe would move into another phase of adult. Maybe you achieved mastery in something and you would get a mastery name. And then you might move into elder and you'd get an elder name. And each time that you moved into a new phase in your life, you would have a name that went with it. Sometimes it would be added on to your name, and sometimes it would result in an entirely separate name. And it was powerful. It was powerful. It helped us step into this new version of us. And I love it. I think that's a tradition that maybe we should be bringing back, and you have. I
totally agree with you. I mean, it's so weird that it should be. I mean, my mom was really mad when I changed my name and stuff, but I thought, just as you do, just as you explained, you go through these different stages, and it's really good to make them more real. And you change, and you get more clear about your intentions and who you are and what you're here to give, what your gifts are and everything. And it'd be nice if the community gave you new names. That's probably what has happened in the tribes, earlier.
Yeah, I bet that was part of it.
Yeah. But, now we have to figure it out ourselves. Yeah, I would love to get more back to the roots, tribal roots.
Me too. Akasha, thank you. You've been a delight and a gift. Do you have any parting words?
Oh my gosh, how much time do I have?
As much as you'd like.
I was just thinking because I do have this because we talked about tribal roots, and I'm on my way to Brazil to live with a tribe, and I was thinking about, what the tribe, it's all generations all together,
Yes.
without devices, connected with nature, connected with the
Mhm.
plant world, connected with the food,
Yeah.
connected with their clothes. They're weaving all their stuff, they're making their jewelry. And this is going to be such an amazing, I think this is going to be a life-changing experience for me to live with. It's only a month, but 1 month, but
That is lovely.
I think it's sort of what I've always wanted to do. So,
I'll be delighted to hear how this gets reflected in your name. That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Else?
No, it was enjoyable having a conversation with you. And yeah, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining me, Akasha.
Thanks for joining us this week on Elements of Community. Make sure to visit our website, elementsofcommunity.us, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode.